The planet is restless, Captain. They want their podcast, and they shall have it. I'll beam down to the surface. You have the bridge. Captain, that is illogical. These are Trek fans. They will challenge and dissect your knowledge with great emotion. It is a mission fraught with danger, peril, and grave risk. Suggestions? Send in the red shirts.
Big Sexy, report to the bridge. You're needed immediately. All hands on deck. It's the red shirts. All right, listen. Tuck in that uniform, mister.
But it's hot.
Oh, Lord. We have a crisis because we are the only two remaining crew members on the USS Internet. Now, what I need you to do is go down to engineering and see if Wesley Crusher is still messing around with that pedophile. I mean, that guy, the alien from the Traveler. Is that his name?
Yeah.
See if they're still around with that warp bubble.
Yeah, that guy was kind of creepy.
But I will remember you, Big Sexy. I will remember you on my Beverly Crusher.
Now, that was a good episode, though. And I don't like her, but that was a good episode.
I don't understand this. What is there not to like about Beverly Crusher?
You know, I guess because when she, in the earlier seasons, she would always have on that goofy lab coat over her uniform. Now, either you're going to be the doctor and rock your lab gear, but, well, I'm the doctor, so you know this because I'm wearing my lab coat. Come on.
Jesus.
No. McCoy didn't do that.
That's a perfect reason to hate the character.
McCoy didn't do it. Bashir didn't do it. The holographic EMH didn't do it. But she did.
Didn't she get rid of it
the
third season? No, third season was Pulaski.
Second season was Pulaski.
Second season. Okay, third season. Didn't she get rid of it?
No. Fourth season on, she did. And I'll give her this. I gained I won't say liking, but a little more appreciation of the character when she took the helm of the bridge.
Well, that was like season.
That was 5 or
6 or 7, wasn't it?
But when she took the bridge, she took the bridge.
Right.
I have to give it up. She did a great job.
She put in work. But okay, that'll be enough. That's for another time. We are here to discuss I'm going to say, musings on Deep Space Nine, Star Trek Deep Space Nine. But before we get into that, a lot of news came out this week about Star Trek. So I'm going to get your thoughts on it. We heard from Zachary Quinto. Is that how you pronounce his name?
I believe it was Quinto, but I hope I don't know.
Is it Quinto or Quinto?
I've never heard Quinto. I would assume it would be Quinto, but I've never heard it pronounced that way.
Yeah. Well, be that as it may, from TrekMovie.com, he basically says that things are on track for the next Star Trek movie with the Kelvin crew.
Ooh.
Okay, but like I said before, it is Star Trek. But I mean, I don't know how you feel. Doesn't it feel like these new movies are just like they're just weightless? They have no purpose.
They're weightless and they're like cosplay. Do something. That's why I liked, the series, because the series took the premise and ran a different direction with it. These guys are just retelling old stories. Well, this is my intent or interpretation of so-and-so's character. No. Make new characters and go forward. That's why I like these films. Well, I'm the new Captain Kirk. I'm the new Uhura. No, you're not. Go away.
I mean, to me, it's kind of like what DC is doing with their television properties, which I think are dope, and then their movie properties, which don't have no synergy.
None.
It's like we're waiting for the next season of Discovery to hit, which is not coming till 2019.
That's right.
The CBS. And then, but then in the movies we got these Kelvin Trek movies. It just, I don't know. They seem pointless. I'll go see them because it's something to do, and I like Star Trek, and we need to be able to talk about them on this show. But and they don't make that much money.
No. And you mentioned, the DC TV universe. That's how I view these Star Trek reboots. It's like Smallville. they're aimed at that demographic, and I'm not in that demographic, so it doesn't talk to me.
I don't even think that demographic is watching these movies. I think it's still
No.
hard. It's hardcore trekkers that are watching these movies. I think.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I say that
I'm guessing. I don't know.
because a lot of hardcore people like like us, a lot of that group will watch it just to shit on it and look for the. You tell me I'm wrong? I mean, they'll watch it just to say, look, this is wrong. And they hope to be proven that, they're mistaken. But for the most part, these guys on these films just ain't getting it done.
Well, it could go either way, man. If Trek fans love the Orville, I could, I don't put anything past them.
The Orville is funny. Okay, the Orville is funny.
Are they still making that show?
It has been renewed, yes.
I don't see any promotion for that show.
Well, it's not in production now, but it has been renewed.
All right. What, it airs on what channel? Fox, right?
On Fox, yeah.
Maybe I don't watch much on Fox anymore because I don't see any commercials like coming up on the next Orville or.
No. Again, because it's not on right now, so there'd be no point to show any commercials for it.
Yeah, I mean, even when it was being aired, I don't remember seeing any commercials or promos. But maybe I don't watch Fox TV that much anymore. But Quinto,
I see what you're doing.
What's that?
I see what you're doing.
No. I watch Fox News Sunday with Chris Wallace.
All right.
But Quinto goes on to say that he drops this little tidbit. He says he thinks that the movie after Star Trek 4 is also still in the works. And what movie he's talking about is the movie where everyone speculated that Tarantino is going to be directing it. And he says Tarantino is doing his Charles Manson movie, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, this summer. So we will do this one now, referring to Star Trek 4, and then that one down the line. So,
if Tarantino's involved, knowing him and his reputation, he's going to have a say in the story. And if he has a say in the story, I'm good. I'm definitely okay with that. But if he's not involved in creative to that extent, I'm still going to be skeptical.
Here's the thing. One of us, I think it was you, said that you had read that he wanted to do a story based around Yesterday's Enterprise, the TNG episode.
He wants to do a TNG episode movie, yeah.
So
I'd be all over that.
Does that mean he wants to place this Kelvin cast in that same scenario?
I hope not.
I mean,
he wants to kill him.
Well, yeah. So then he says, "So we will do this one." This is Quinto talking. We will do this one now, and then that one down the line. So Quinto, that quote indicates Quinto thinks he's on board with the Tarantino film.
And we all know until it's set in stone, anything can happen.
That's true. So we have other news. I'm getting this from comicbookmovie.com, and I'll put all of these links in the download. But apparently, we have had some more shakeup in Discovery over at the Discovery offices, and I don't know why I find this. It's not funny, but there's something. So let me go to this real quick. So apparently, the two showrunners, what's his name, Harberts, and I forget the other guy's name.
Kurtzman?
No, Kurtzman is the guy who was coming on.
He was coming on, okay.
Right, I can't remember Harberts and can't think of the other guy's name. But well, I'll read it here. Oh, here we go. Alex Kurtzman, and I'm sorry, this is not from Comic Book Movie. This is from Gizmodo. Alex Kurtzman is taking over Discovery, and it's reported by the Hollywood Reporter. It says that Berg and Harberts became increasingly abusive to the Discovery writing staff, with the latter, that being Harberts, Aaron Harberts, said to have leaned across the writer's room table while shouting an expletive at a member of the show's staff. After hearing rumors of HR complaints, Harberts is said to have threatened the staff to keep concerns with the production an internal matter. Now, have you ever watched After Trek when
No.
Discovery was on? You know the show, right?
No, I mean, because I would watch Discovery through, let's just say, alternate means.
Right.
So I didn't know there was a post Trek show like that? What was that like? The guy who was doing
Yep. Like
Talking Dead, something like that.
It's exactly the same as like Chris Hardwick's.
I didn't know that.
The host is, I think his name was Matt Mira. You would hate him. He's so annoying. You just, well, let me stop.
Oh shit.
But Harberts was on that post show a number of times, and when you look at this guy, now Big Sexy, if you were to see this guy, I'm like, this guy's getting in someone's face? Man, please. I mean, I guess I would kind of shut my mouth if I wanted to keep my job, but if you get in my face, this guy, yeah, you're getting knocked down easily.
Okay, I gotta take a pic. And this is the Matt Mira guy?
Well, Matt Mira is the host. I'm talking about Harberts now, one of the showrunners.
Okay.
Aaron Harberts is his name.
Let me pull this guy up.
Yeah. He's not a guy that's going to be getting in my face anytime soon. But
Wow.
What do you think of this? Do you think this is going to be more of a problem for Discovery?
Well, I think it's a big picture issue. Now, you and I mean, especially you, but I've dabbled in a little bit myself in the creative, media world, and sometimes things get tense. I understand this, and things get tense in any business. But if you're going to run around saying, well, so-and-so said this to me, and I don't have to take that, blah, 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 I'm seeing a lot of thin-skinned people now. And hopefully that won't become an issue down the line. Because if people can do their gig and do it well and still take some of the heat, nobody's putting hands on anybody, let's just keep moving forward. But also when you have a property that's so new, and all the Star Trek seems to have to go through this. They get the first season out. Now the second season, they do some tweaking. Changes are made. Then they find their groove like TNG, DS9, and Voyager, or they kind of stumble forward like Enterprise. So let's see what happens here.
Well, let me just read this here. And this, like I said, this is from Gizmodo IO9. I believe that's what this site is called. It says here also, budgetary concerns are also mentioned, which means the remainder of the season. Apparently the show is already near finished with its first 5 eps. And I think there are only 13 episodes, right?
Yeah, that's another thing I hate nowadays. All these short, seasons.
I know.
But it used to be 36 at one point. Then it was 22. Now it's 13.
But this speaks to something I was saying on one of our shows, and I think Craig didn't agree with what I said. But
oh, hold it. I'm looking at a picture of Aaron. I would whip his ass.
Yeah, he looks like he's in his, 50s?
Well, it says he's 45 here, and I'm looking at this, bespectacled dillweed. Telling you, if he roll up on me with that, Aaron, let's see me in the parking lot, man. Let's figure it out.
Yeah,
that's an ass but I'd have to take.
Seeing him on the show, and I don't mean any offense. I'm a very progressive person,
but
he strikes me as extremely, quote unquote, happy. And listen, I've met a number of happy people that I would not want to step to. Okay?
Oh, this is true.
I've met a number of them.
Happiness does not equal wimp by any stretch of the imagination.
Exactly. Right. This guy is one of those happy guys that I think, dude, come on. And
I just don't like the glasses.
And again, I don't mean that as a derogatory. I'm 100% behind all causes, but it doesn't look like he could put up hands very well. Let's just put it that way.
Exactly. Because if you're going to be talking that way, you got to be able to put up hands.
Right. But let me
can't have it both ways.
let me start this again. I'm reading from the Gizmodo. Budgetary concerns are also mentioned, which means the remainder of the season will need to be leaner, a situation that's actually been a good thing for Discovery in the past. THR, the Hollywood Reporter, notes that the showrunner change is not expected to affect the show's production. What else are they going to say, of course? And it also points out that Kurtzman, who co-created Discovery with Fuller, has a long history with Star Trek on both the big and small screen. Okay. Now, the big screen, I assume they're talking about the Kelvin movie, so that doesn't count for But, I agree that the budget I said this on the show. I don't know if you remember. I said you can cut back on the budget by cutting back on all these long. They're beautiful graphics, and beautiful animation and CGI, but I don't need it all. I didn't need a huge bridge set that looked like a church for the Klingon sarcophagus.
Yeah, that just made no sense.
I don't need for the camera to pan along the entire freaking ship, the entire Discovery, before it gets to the aft section where they release the spores or whatever, or the things that go to the planet so they can release the spores. I didn't need all that. So I don't have a problem with that. Do you?
No, not at all. In fact, now let me tread very carefully here. Based on what you said a moment ago about happiness, shall we say?
Yeah.
You would be correct, actually.
Oh, okay.
I did not know that either. And the thing is, and there's an article that was linked in this Wikipedia page. It said how a non-Trekkie became one of Star Trek's first happy showrunners. Now, let me be real clear. Happiness, hey man, whatever. The problem I have, non-Trekkie. You can't be a showrunner on this show or this franchise and not be into the product. That's a problem for me. So I can see that maybe what led to his dismissal. You know, because a lot of times people have done it in all types of comic and sci-fi things. Well, I'm going to take these characters and go a new direction. No, you're not. You know, my vision of them is this. No, it isn't. You know, so if that's what got him dusted, I'm okay with that.
Well, I wonder if that's why we saw so many different shakeups to the norms of how a Star Trek story is told. I didn't necessarily have a problem with the shakeups. For example, it didn't focus on the captain. It wasn't the show wasn't through the POV of the captain. They killed off one of the characters that would be considered one of the primary players in any Star Trek episode, that being the Doctor.
Yeah.
It was just it wasn't all of the episodes weren't standalone episodes except for maybe a couple. Which again, I didn't have a problem with that format necessarily. I didn't like them killing off the Doctor, but
I like that at all. I did not like that at all. No.
But moving on, so now I'm going to move to comicbookmovie.com, and we have, as a result of Alex Kurtzman taking over, this article posits that there will be 4 new Star Trek properties going to the small screen.
Oh, to the small screen, okay.
Right. So what we have here, it says that there's going to be a new series coming from the showrunners of Marvel's Runaways on Hulu. And let me just say, I watched the pilot of that, and I like the fact that it had sort of, and I think you'll appreciate this, it had sort of a British type of feel to it, like the Misfits. Remember that show? Or
Misfits was great the first couple seasons.
And when I say it had that feel, it didn't. It was very subtle. The music, the visuals, like in the opening, and it wasn't like beat you over the head like a lot of these things are that we do here in America. But other than that, it was just turgid. That's a vocabulary word for the day. Turgid.
Ah, nice.
Or torpid. AKA boring. But this new show is going to be set at Starfleet Academy, and that's what I've been wanting for so long. I don't know how you feel about that, but I would love to see a Star Trek series that's set on Earth, so we could possibly see how Earth, what Earth is like, what our society is like in the 24th century, assuming it's going to be in the 24th century. They better not go back. I hope they don't go back to prequelville. But
no.
You know, and you can punctuate that with some stories where they go into space, you know. But I'm all on board for this. What do you think?
If they do a show based on Starfleet Academy on Earth in the contemporary timing of the universe, not those, Kelvin crap fest.
You're talking about Prime Universe.
I'd be all over that. Okay. Because it's going to be in San Francisco, which means they can keep it local. The cost won't be too insane, because if you're in the Academy, you're not going on missions that are going to be out way in the middle of nowhere. I mean, there can
Right.
still be interaction with people, obviously, but you can learn about things. And again, I don't want to jump ahead, but that was one of the best episodes of DS9 to me when they were on Earth at the Academy for that two-parter episode. Love that.
And you know what? We're going to talk about DS9, but I don't recall the episode you're talking about. I'm ashamed to
Oh,
say.
you are killing me.
Well, we'll touch on that as we get to that point. But to your point, one of the most profitable Star Trek movies in the Prime TOS universe was Star Trek 4, and 90% of that film took place on Earth in San Francisco.
Very true. And again, I think allowing for that, for lack of a better phrase, local flavor will be a new thing because the bulk of it will be set in the future setting of San Francisco, and they keep costs down. And if he's still with us, I don't know if he is, but if Ray Walston is still with us, they got to get him to be Boothby. They got to.
I would be surprised if he's still alive, but that would be awesome if they did
That would be magnificent. I mean, if he's with us, go and get. That's a no-brainer. I'd say no-brainer. Now, if he's not, do not cast that role.
But here's the thing. See, what if they go and make this in the 23rd century? Then they hire someone to play Boothby who's younger, because he would be younger.
No.
Well, now here's the other thing. If they do this and they set it at Starfleet Academy, they're not going to shoot in San Francisco.
No, we'll probably shoot in Vancouver.
And see, but to me, now I've been to San Francisco twice now, and San Francisco, hands down, is one of the most beautiful cities in the nation. And just like New York, it has a definite look, and I don't think you can't fake San Francisco in any other place. So that would be a problem for me.
Well, I disagree because I think with San Francisco, if you shoot a lot of exteriors, because that's what they did on the DS9 episode, which you didn't see apparently, but they shot a lot of exteriors. They had like the backgrounds of the Bay Bridge, and they showed a few areas with those hilly streets, which I hated growing up. Oh God, I hated those. So you just show that, and once you're inside, it can be anywhere. But you can do that. I think that can be done.
Well, you remember in Star Trek 4 when they first arrived in San Francisco, and they are in the street corner trying to find the nuclear base or whatever, the submarine base. It was a wide shot, and you felt the city in that shot. You can't do that. You couldn't do that if you don't shoot in San Francisco. You shoot in Vancouver or Atlanta or wherever you get tax breaks. You know what I mean?
But when they did that in San Francisco, if I'm not mistaken, they actually ended up in contemporary 1984 too when they did that.
Right.
This is not going to be doing that.
Oh, you're saying because they'll probably CGI a lot of stuff that they don't have to shoot there.
Exactly.
I see what you're saying, but still, you got to have that element of San Francisco, like when futuristic New York. You got to shoot in New York, and you can add some CGI plates to accentuate it, but you got to have the basic foundation. That's my opinion.
I mean, again, though, if they do this, if that's the biggest concern, I think we'll be okay.
Perhaps.
I think they can do it. I think they can work around that.
Perhaps. Now, let me ask you this. Since you grew up in the Bay Area, this is off the beaten path, but in Star Trek 4, when they were shooting at the at that aquarium that was supposed to be in Sausalito, that was not actually Sausalito, was it?
Oh, God, I'd have to look again. But Sausalito is very small.
Yes.
And really affluent. Love it there. I couldn't tell. I'd have to look at it again because I don't know if they hit any landmarks that were around then. When they shot that. So I don't know. I'd be surprised if it wasn't. If at least an exterior wasn't.
Well, I don't know. Maybe the first time I visited San Francisco, I remember driving across the Golden Gate Bridge and going into Sausalito, mainly because I wanted to see the real Sausalito after having seen Star Trek 4. And I was like, what the hell? Okay, there's nothing here. There's nothing. So I find it hard to believe that aquarium was there, unless maybe I didn't go into downtown proper. But
well, you're splitting hairs.
Okay. All right, let's move on. So we've got that new series, and then we have 2 mini-series. Now, I don't know if that means like a kind of like a Marvel Netflix kind of platform or model. The miniseries being maybe 12 or 13 episodes, and then they're done with the series completely. Now, there's no information on the first series, but the second one, okay, brace for impact, is going to be based on, it's something that we lamented a couple years ago, going to be based on the Wrath of Khan. Okay.
God.
I don't know who to blame. I don't know whether to blame CBS or Paramount. Since it's a TV property, I'm guessing it's CBS we got to blame. Guys, Kurtzman, listen to me. I'm going to tag you when I post this on Twitter. Stay away from Wrath of Khan. Okay?
Been done to death. Give it a rest.
How can you do... what stories are there to be told about Wrath of Khan either prior to Star Trek II, which we have Space Seed, and then after or during before Star Trek II, where they're on the planet, which is a desolate planet. So what stories are to be told there? We know what happens after Star Trek II, Wrath of Khan. Khan dies, unless they come up with some insane way to resurrect his body, like William Shatner did when he wanted to come back to life as Captain Kirk. But anyway, how and who plays Khan? You don't try. Well, you know what? I was going to say you don't recast Ricardo Montalban.
No.
But if you think you can recast William Shatner, then I guess anything is on the table, right?
Yeah, it looks how that's working out for him. They need to step away from that.
They need to leave that the hell alone. And then the last thing is they, and this is, I'm quoting, a mysterious animated series. I don't know what that means, but I would say this. Even though I didn't watch Clone Wars or Star Wars Rebels. I didn't like the animation first off, and I'm drifting away from Star Wars. But I respect how those 2 animated series really exploded the canon, and what I want to say, the universe. It extends out the universe of Star Wars. So if this does that, it only makes Trek more renowned, I guess is the word, or more solid, or builds on what we already have. So I'm all for that. Your thoughts?
Well, again, if you have a good foundation and you build off of it, they build off something and take it a new direction. If they can do that with this, I'm good. But visiting the whole Wrath of Khan thing, the episode Space Seed did it. And if you go to Space Seed and go to the planet where they got left, what do you have? A guy on a planet whipping ass. Okay. That's not a 12 episode run to me. Then he goes out looking for Kirk.
Did you say a guy on a planet with an ass?
Whipping ass.
Oh, whipping ass. Okay. I'm like, how dare you talk about, what was that woman's name?
Space Seed.
No, the woman that betrays the crew. What was her name?
Oh, I forgot baby's name.
I thought that's with an ass. I'm like, damn, she's more than an ass, isn't she?
See, there you go.
I can't remember her name either. Maybe there's a reason for that. All right, let's move on to the topic at hand, and that is Star Trek Deep Space Nine. So,
hold it.
Yes. Yes, sir.
I'm gonna have to give you a little bit of a smacking here.
Oh, here we go.
The issues. The episodes you're looking for are Homefront and Paradise Lost, Season 4, Episodes 11 and 12. The crew goes back to Earth because Earth has been infiltrated by changelings. Remember that?
It rings a bell.
And they declared martial law, and at one point, Cisco rolls up on his dad, the great Brock Peters, and said, Dad, I need to test your blood.
Yes, I remember that. Yeah.
And he's like, now. Are you trying to test me? Boy, I will whip you.
I remember that.
And that was set in San Francisco, and it looked great to me.
Yeah, but you make a good point. The the environments were small enough that it didn't require.
Exactly, and with TV you can do that. Film,
But
not really, but TV you can do
no,
that.
but see, I'm saying you're right, but you got to remember this is the '90s, right? Now, Discovery, we've seen vast, sweeping vistas of Tatooine-like planets, as you like to point out, as you pointed out on our last show. And you've seen we've seen Kronos, the home world, laid out. There were wide shots. Now it was dark and nighttime, but I think the audience now we don't want to see these small. Remember how we used to complain about, or I used to complain about every time in the Berman era, a Star Trek away team would beam down to a planet. It always looked like a studio set.
Yeah.
With the guys, it looked like a village square. And it always looks so small and contained. We can't go back to that after seeing Discovery.
I'm not saying you need to go back that far, but with the sweeping vistas of Discovery, those showrunners are out of a job now. So there's got to be a happy medium between
Okay.
the two.
All right, you're throwing shade at my man's and them. All right, yeah, they out of work. Okay.
Yeah, got to get a JLB.
But I do remember that. I do remember the scene where Cisco Senior was like, "You better step off with that needle."
I'll whip your little ass, man. You better back up.
But
yes. And a little piece of trivia.
What's that?
The woman who played Dr. Leah Brahms in Next Generation.
She was in an episode.
She was in this. She was in this episode as one of the captains.
Why do they do that? Why would they cast her like that?
Dude, they do a lot of people like that.
That's the only time I remember them.
Oh, cute. Let me.
No, wait. Now I do know they've cast people, but playing humans, and then they'll cast them as an alien and making them unrecognizable in makeup. They did that with Jeffrey Combs.
Jeffrey Combs, Mark Alamo, because he was Gul Dukat and two other people.
Right, but what I'm saying is if you can't tell who they are, then I'm cool with that. Because you got
maybe because Leah Brahms wasn't a member of the Federation. She was a civilian. Now, if they had her playing two Federation people, it'll be like, yeah.
Well, no. But when I saw her, I thought immediately that's not the captain. That's Leah Brahms. Why would they cast the same actress? Anyway, all right. Be that as it may, it took me 2 years to get through DS9, and because I started, what was it? At least 2 years, right, Big Sexy? I remember I started it.
It's been a minute, yeah.
And then we had Don't Go In Too Hard. We had Iron Fist drop on Netflix. So I stopped watching to watch that. I think Luke Cage dropped, so I stopped watching to watch that. And then I kind of fell off of it, but then I picked up right back where I left off. It was kind of in the middle of the Dominion War. So my memory's a little fuzzy. But I wanted to discuss Deep Space Nine because I know you're a big fan. I think you said it's your favorite of the Trek series.
It is.
Okay. Well, let me give you my history. So, I think Deep Space Nine debuted in '93, and TNG was still running at the time. So I was excited to see it, right?
I like the overlap, too. I did enjoy that.
Right, and then because the pilot, Emissary, we saw Picard kind of hand the baton over, but Cisco was kind of like in his feelings.
Yeah, you and your baton, man. Oh yeah.
Picard had to kind of snap him back a little bit, but so it aired during TNG's run. Coincidentally, it went off the air. Voyager started up during DS9's run, so you had DS9 running concurrently with TNG and Voyager, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Now I watched the first episode. I was bored to tears. I hated it.
Wow.
I didn't like Avery Brooks as Cisco because I just thought he was an unwieldy actor. And we've already discussed that. Ow! That whole... all that crap. It didn't.
She was fine, though.
Yeah, okay. And listen. Now I have to take the L because I know I've been listening back to the old episodes of our show, and in one episode I said she was fine, in the other episode I said she was all right. So,
wow.
I'll split the difference. She's cool with me.
Wow.
But I just didn't like the show because I didn't like the fact they were on this space station. I didn't like the whole mixing of. I didn't like the concept of it being a Cardassian space station, and you had Odo and Kira running around in these different uniforms, and Cisco was relegated to that space station, and I didn't buy into any of the characters. So I can't imagine. I don't remember specifically. I can't imagine I watched more than 3 or 4 episodes, and I kind of fell off of it. I just didn't like it. And that would have been in '93, right? So now, what was it? Maybe 4 years ago. Well, we started this podcast in November of 2015 or 2016, I want to say. And I started this podcast with you, and Craig signed on because I had started rewatching Voyager because the reboots weren't doing it for me. The Abrams reboots weren't doing it for me.
Ugh.
So I was like, I want some Star Trek. So let me watch Voyager, and that's when we started the podcast. And so I said, you know what? I enjoyed Voyager. You know what? I never did see Deep Space Nine. Let me watch that. And I watched it. I hated the pilot just as much as before. I think I fell asleep on it 3 times. And generally, I can say the first 3 seasons were not good. Okay? But I want to say it was around season 4, around the time the Defiant comes into the picture. And it was around the same time that Avery Brooks shaved his head and grew the mustache and goatee.
Went back to being Hawk. Oh, yeah.
The show takes off like a rocket. And now let me go back to the first season. There's an episode, you might remember this, surely you remember this, where the crew beams down. I forget where they go, where they end up. They're captive in some compound, and it's like a maze, and they have to escape the maze.
Oh, you mean Move Along Home?
Is that it? They had to play a game of hopscotch?
Yeah. Move Along Home. Alamarine, something. Oh, yeah.
And even, I remember seeing on YouTube where Avery Brooks said that was the most difficult thing he had to do because he just thought it was so stupid. He said that on a panel with Marina Sirtis, I believe. And I'm like, that's probably the episode that I signed off on, where I was like, I'm tapping out.
And again, first season.
Right. That's it. The first season sucked.
You look at the first season of Next Generation, yeah. Okay.
Not good, but better than I liked it, Yeah.
They had their share of clunkers in that first season.
They did. But my point being is that after forcing myself to go through it, I can tell you this. I'm not going to say Deep Space Nine is my favorite series. I won't say that. TNG remains my favorite. The original series, that's on a level of its own. But I can't put that in the mix. TNG is my favorite outside of that. I can completely understand why DS9 is so popular now. I can understand it now. I understand why I wouldn't necessarily agree with you, but I'm not going to debate you if you say DS9 has the most rich storytelling. It has the most layered characters. And actually, I would agree with you. I'm going to go back. I would agree with you. It has the most layered characters. It moves into serialized storytelling. One thing I kind of appreciated, it made it more confusing, but I kind of appreciated, was that when they had 2 or 3 or 4 parters, they didn't use the same title of the first episode and just put a part 2 at the end of it.
No, they didn't do that.
I kind of I respected that. It made it confusing as hell, but I appreciated that. And another thing I liked about it is that this series went dark.
Yeah.
It went dark. We are introduced to Section 31. There was an episode, I'm going to say it's probably one of my favorite episodes. You might remember the title of it. Cisco. Cisco is telling the story to the camera, and we see the episode in flashback. And it's basically Cisco does something where he sets up a character. I think it's a Cardassian. Oh, it's like a Cardassian plant working for Starfleet who ends up getting killed. And then we cut back to Cisco in his quarters, sipping on some Chardonnay, and he said, "Hey, it is what it is." Remember that? Remember that episode?
I remember that episode because that's how he dragged or drew the Romulans into the war.
That's what it was. He wanted the Romulans into the. That's exactly it, Big Sexy. He wanted the Romulans to partner with the Federation against the Dominion.
In the pale moonlight.
That's what it was.
That's the one.
Do you remember the details of what of Cisco's treachery? What he did?
Treachery.
He got a dude killed, man.
He went to Garak, I believe.
Yes.
And said, "Look, you need to get this guy to forge this thing, and let the Dominion find it." And the Dominion found it, knew it was a forgery, and they went and got the guy. And he got dealt with.
Was he killed? Do you remember? Was he killed?
He was killed. And then Cisco's like, "Look, I knew he'd get caught, but I need to get the Romulans in this party." And now they ended. And then he deleted the whole log entry. That's what it was.
The only thing is that, when you do that, your character has to change a little bit. And I don't know that Cisco, I think he got a reset on the next episode and then moving forward through the end of the series.
Yeah, it didn't show any long-lasting or permanent effects from that, no.
Right.
But
and
I had to go.
And, if he is one of the progeny of the prophets, it seems like that might jeopardize his relationship with the prophets. I don't know. Maybe not with the... there should have been an episode where maybe they could have got on their Star Wars and maybe he, like Gul Dukat, flirts with the Paw Wraiths because of that dark chapter and what he did,
Yeah.
That would have been interesting. But some information on the show, and then I want to get your overall take on DS9, why you like it. But let me just read here. The series won a number of awards. It was nominated for Emmy Awards every year of its run. So that was 7, what was that, 7 seasons?
7 years, yeah.
7 years. Every year of its run, including from makeup, cinematography, art direction, special effects, hairstyling, music, direction and composition of music, and costumes. I did like the lighting. The lighting on, like in some of the living chambers, like the hallways, very moody. I did like that. Of these nominations, it won 2 for makeup for Captive Pursuit and Distant Voices, 1 for special visual effects for Emissary, okay, and 1 for its main title theme music by composer Dennis McCarthy. Now that I disagree with. I hate the opening credits for this. Now the first 5 or 5 seasons,
that's kind of boring.
The first 5 seasons. The music, they did change the music like season 5 where they added a little bit more percussion to it and it gives it more of a poppy feel, but it's just so, it's kind of slow. Anyway, it was also nominated for 2 Hugo Awards in the category of Best Dramatic Presentation for The Visitor and Trials and Tribulations. One other thing I want to read, then I'm going to get your thoughts on all of this. Deep Space Nine drew praise from African American, Latino, and other minority viewers for its handling of the minority characters, particularly the Cisco family members. We got into that with our show about who was more annoying, Jake or Wesley. And I think I said what I felt about the Cisco relationship there. A little creepy. In addition, actor Alexander Siddiq, who portrayed Dr. Bashir, expressed his enthusiasm for the fact that he, with his English accent, unusual screen name at the time of casting, his name is Siddiq El-Fadil, and North African heritage, was a main character on a prominent television series despite being not as easily racially identifiable to audiences as many other actors and characters were on TV at that time. Let me ask you a quick question before you give your thoughts. Do you think if this show were to get a green light today with what's going on now, do you think that character would be given a green light?
Oh yeah.
You think so?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I guess we have a Muslim superhero comic book, right? Ms. Marvel?
Ms. Marvel, and I've read it. Actually, I've seen her in the Avengers cartoon a couple times. Not a fan, but that's just me. Wait, whoa. Put down those angry Twitter buttons. Not because she's Muslim, because she's like young. She's teenage and goofy.
All right, so the Muslims might not go after you, but the millennials will. Okay, but anyway.
Yeah, that's probably it.
No, you have a right not to like something. You don't have to like it just to make a SJW statement. You don't like it, you don't like it.
Yeah, not these days. But I'm
Anyway.
moving right along here.
But give me your thoughts, your general thoughts about DS9. You were a fan, I guess, from its original first run,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
In syndication.
Before I jump in this, I wanted to expand a little bit on, oh God, what was the episode? The Pale Moonlight.
Okay.
Garrett set the bomb that blew up the guy who made the forgery, and Cisco's like, dude, what the hell? Garrett's like, you and I both know that they were going to know this thing was a forgery and get to him, so we made it look like the Dominion blew his ass up. And so Cisco was pissed off, and then at his, where is it? At his quarters, he's like, all right, fine. and he admits that the Romulans got dragged in before it, and he's all, Garrick is right about it, guilty conscience is a small price to pay, but I can live with it. And then he deleted it. So he knew. He knew. Now, the cool thing to me about DS9 when it was first announced, this was 93, so it was announced in 92, and this was, a few years after Avery Brooks had been playing, Hawk on Spencer for Hire and had his own short-lived show. And he was so identifiable with that bald head, very stoic visage, and goatee. I'm like, he's going to be on Star Trek? Nah. And then they said he grew his hair out and cut off the beard. I'm like, well, let's take a look. Now, Avery Brooks is one of those Shakespearean, classically trained theater cats,
Right.
which is fine. And you can tell him a mile away because I'm watching the pilot and I'm watching him, and he's trying to, for lack of a better phrase, like rein in the personality so he doesn't become like, oh, that's just Hawk. But a lot of his theatrical training just comes through. It all just comes out. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. But I also liked how they had Miles O'Brien on the show, which gave it that rub from TNG. So you have that connection there.
Uh-huh.
They took his character, who was really, D-level on TNG, because he wasn't even recurring. I mean,
Miles
he popped
O'Brien?
it. Recurring. See, to me, a recurring character means you see him 4 or 5 times a season. We went years without seeing Miles
I
O'Brien.
don't know. Around
He wouldn't see many episodes.
TNG's The Wounded. I mean, I think in that season he did play. I think he got some screen time.
I mean, he got a little bit of time here and there, but Wonder was great, though. That was a great episode. You're right.
Episode. Introduction of the Kardashians.
Yes.
And that's not Kim and Chloe, by the way.
Move right along here. He was crucial to it, and from what I understand, they wanted Michelle Forbes to revive her character of, what is her name? Ensign Rowe.
Right.
To be they wanted her to be the Kira role, and she said no, so they made Kira and gave it to Nana Visitor. And to me, I've said this a million times, the best thing about this show, you have the entire arc of Ben Sisko. He gets there. He is, for lack of a better phrase, a broken man. His wife was lost in the Borg incident. He was prepared to walk away from Starfleet. But he goes to this new outpost. He's like, yeah, I'm not doing this. Meets the, what was her name? The Kai.
Kai Wynn.
Kyle Paka.
Oh, wait, who?
Paka.
Okay, continue. Go ahead. I don't remember that character off the top of my head.
The little short woman. Kyle Paka reaches up and grabs his ear and says, your paw is strong. You're going to hang here. What? I ain't hanging nowhere.
Okay.
And then at some point, I forget what the exact circumstances were, but he has a vision. And the wormhole aliens, prophets, or whatever, they go to him. They're like, dude, this is for you. This is a beginning, a middle, and there's an end. And they're all the same to us. He's like, whoa, okay, I can hang with you brothers for a while. Yeah. And so they start doing that. They build the show up.
Well, wait, he had no choice because Picard said,
No, he had a choice. Because he had told Picard, man, I ain't going and you. Picard's like, you sure about that? I don't know. And he's, he went and had his little adventure. And then he goes, and he had already quit, actually. And he goes back to Picard, hat in hand. Well, Captain, you're right. I'm going to stay here and blah, blah, blah. Picard's like, yeah, I guess so. Still don't like you though. That's
Wait a
all right.
minute, but Cisco and Picard only had one scene together, didn't they?
They had 2 scenes together.
Did they? Wow.
Yes.
Okay. Like I said, people, I'm commenting. Most of my memory is on the last 2 seasons because everything else I watched like a year ago. So you have to forgive me. Big Sexy will chastise me as we go. Continue, sir.
And so, and from that point on, then what we have is really like a sociological experiment too. We've got a Cardassian ship on the edge of nowhere. No, there's not a Federation outpost anywhere near them.
It's near Bajor, right?
It's near Bajor, which is not a member planet of the Federation. Okay.
Okay. Right.
It's there to keep an eye on the Cardassians because they had just been, I don't want to say kicked off, but they had just left Bajor after being at war with them for hundreds of years.
Well, wait a minute. So, okay, and again, maybe this is something I just don't remember. I'm trying to make the connection between why the Federation and Starfleet were getting involved with Bajor. It's because Bajor was on that wormhole.
Wormhole wasn't there yet. No one hadn't been discovered yet.
So why did why did the Federation get involved with Bajor's strife with the Kardashians in the first place?
They didn't really get involved. They stayed out of it. But once it had ended, they wanted a presence there to further their own Federation interest. So it's like, we're going to take this station now.
But wait, why wouldn't it be Bajor's property?
Because Bajor couldn't defend it. That's why.
Because they just come out of
they just come out of a long war, and if they don't have the firepower.
But they won the war, didn't they?
They didn't win anything.
Wait a minute.
Bajor didn't win anything.
How did the Kardashians? How did they take back the space station, and how did they free themselves from the tyranny of the Kardashians?
Tyranny of the Kardashians. I like that. I don't believe they won anything. I think there was like an agreement to cease hostilities, and concessions were made on both sides. And part of that was, we want this station. Then I'm trying to do this from memory. I'm guessing that the Starfleet had said, look, we're going to be keeping an eye on things. And Cardassian's like, you know what? If Starfleet's involved, we're going to fall back. We ain't got nothing to do with it.
Well, here's my thing. And I'm not, it doesn't take away from my enjoyment of the series, but it doesn't make a lot of sense. Maybe I just never, and I admit I never understood completely. If Bajor was able to come to terms with Cardassia, that tells me Bajor must have been putting in work, that they weren't rolling over for Cardassia not to just continue their assault. And then it's like, to me, if Bajor was able to reach those terms with Cardassia, and then the Federation starts wanting to nose around on that space station because the wormhole's nearby, if I'm Bajor, I'm like, get out of here. We got this.
Again, they didn't know, because I'm looking at Emissary little synopsis now. They didn't discover the wormhole until part 2 of Emissary, and which led to the Gamma Quadrant, and then they had to actually stake a claim to it because DS9 wasn't parked near it. They had to move DS9 near it.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah. But I still don't see why Bajor would allow the Federation to stick their nose into that. Why Bajor wouldn't just say, no, we claim that space station.
Because, again, that's part of the reason why Bajor wasn't a member of the Federation, you know. And at one point they were going to be, and Cisco's like, no.
I remember that. There was a reason why. I can't remember why. Something that the prophet said something to him, right? Or
yeah.
It still doesn't make sense to me, man. But I can overlook it. I can overlook it. You know, it just made me think that how cool would it have been if they had done something on Voyager where, because I've got to think that Voyager made it to the at least the Gamma Quadrant during the run of that show, and maybe there's a story where they come across the wormhole on the other end, and they try to make it through for whatever reason they can't. They could have done a crossover with Voyager and Deep Space Nine.
I'd be okay with that.
Yeah.
Now,
anyway.
Now it says here, you know, Bajor was used by the Cardassian Union during their occupation of that planet, and then I guess as part of the stopping hostilities, they got off the planet and gave up the station.
Right, and I'm saying Bajor must have been able to take care of themselves if they got the Cardassians to.
Not really, because every time they show pictures or shots from Bajor, going back to when they went to Bajor when it was introduced with Ensign Rowe, Bajor was pretty tore up.
Well, okay, let me just ask you, why did the Cardassians leave? Why did they give up power?
You know what? I'm trying to look that up, and I don't know.
Okay.
I'm gonna have to watch it again.
Well, I'm sure we could. I mean, just go to Wikipedia.
I think it goes back to that Next Generation Ensign Rowe episode. I think that's where it was really established.
Maybe the Maquis had something to do. Maybe the Maquis were assisting and.
That's right.
Yeah, that's right. The Maquis.
That's right, because that was the first 3 episodes of season 2.
We both have our cards revoked temporarily.
We're getting. I remember the Maquis came along and said, "Look, we ain't having it."
Right.
Right.
And and the Maquis, the Federation probably were like, well, okay, we have a right to Bogart now because we got issues with the Maquis.
Yep.
Okay. All right. So people, like I said, we like DS9. We're just we're old guys, and our memories aren't what they used to be. So
it was 25 years ago too. Jeez.
Well, for me, it was 2 years ago. but so cut us some slack. But now you brought up a lot of good characters. You made a good character study, which I want to get into. I'm going to talk about some of my favorite characters, least favorite characters. I got to tell you, that's one of the things that I do think this show has over all the other series. Some of the characters in here were so deep, man. Really great portrayals. I'm just going to list off the characters. My favorite characters, Dukat. First of all, Mark Alamo is a beast. All right?
Yeah.
Playing that character. Garak, one of my favorite characters. I love that guy. He's like Batman's Alfred, but he will kick some ass if he has to.
That one episode, was it Empok Nor, where he went kind of nuts and took over that other station?
Yep.
Yeah.
Is that the one where he shot Nog?
That's the one.
Yeah. Garak was he may have been a tailor on DS9, but he was no joke. Don't
get it twisted.
Don't fuck with Garak. I liked Nog. That's the one thing this series did for me. It presented. Now I hate Ferengi. I hated them in TNG.
Whoa!
I hate them. I think it's a ridiculous alien race. Okay, but having said that,
Mr. Progressive, ladies and gentlemen. On
DS9, they wrote these Ferengi characters for the most part. They wrote them where they were interesting. Quark, I'm giving it up to Armin Shimmerman. He killed that role. Nog, I loved his character arc, how he went from being Jake's little sidekick to kicking ass as a Starfleet cadet or ensign. Right?
Yeah.
I love the episode where he has to deal with the loss of his leg. Okay?
Yep.
Great episode.
During the war, yeah.
I even liked Rom. I mean, he was a comic relief character, but that's okay to have a comic relief character.
And look who he got married to.
He got married to Lita.
What's up?
Props. Miles, I love Miles and Bashir's character development. At the beginning, they hated each other, but it was so believable throughout the 7 years towards the end that those two grew to be fond of each other. I love that. Kai Wynn.
Great villain, though.
No. You got to say the word that you use for her, the H word. Let me hear it.
Oh, that heifer.
There you go. Thank you. Now, I will say that Louise Fletcher, she killed that role. Now, in the final season, it seemed like she was off her game a little bit. As an actress. I didn't really buy her. But up until that point, she was like the who was the woman from City on the Edge of Forever? Collins. She was like the Dynasty. What was her name?
Alexis.
She was like the Alexis Carrington.
Yes.
Of Deep Space Nine. She was such a great character that you loved to hate. I hated her, and I was supposed to. That's what made her a great character. Your man Jeffrey Combs. This dude
put in some work, man.
He played two characters. First off, he played Wei-Yun, and he played the Ferengi budget
Liquidator Brunt.
Liquidator Brunt. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And then my man Martok.
I
Love that.
met him. I met him at a con once. JG, nice guy.
JG Metzler, right? Or something like that. Yeah. Hertzler. Awesome character. When we first are introduced to him, I thought he was kind of a I got to be honest with you.
What?
Don't we meet him when Worf is taken captive by a Cardassian base or something?
Oh, we met him way before that.
Did we?
You mean when Worf was on that planet and had to fight all the time? Is that what you're talking about?
Isn't that where we met him?
No.
No?
Because it turned out before that even happened, when we met him before that, he was a changeling.
What?
Oh God, you're killing me. They had grabbed up the real Martok.
Oh, right. I thought you were saying Martok really was a changeling all along.
No.
Okay.
No, Martok that Worf found at that planet was the real Martok.
Okay. Well, what I'm saying is, maybe I gotta go rewatch it. And I will say, unlike a lot of even Voyager, I don't rewatch those episodes. TNG, I rewatch the hell out of some of those episodes. DS9, there are episodes I really want to rewatch because it's so deep. But I feel like I remember when on that episode where Martok is held captive. First of all, a real Klingon would have killed himself rather than be taken captive. And didn't
no.
Didn't they put his eye out? Isn't that how they put his eye out while he was captive, right?
Well, during the battles, yeah.
Right. So I don't know.
And to fight Jem'Hadar all the damn time. But again, these are Klingons. We live to whip ass. And so when they grabbed Worf's like, let's go.
No, but a Klingon would not be taken captive, no matter what they would make him do.
No, I don't think a Klingon would off himself after being taken captive. He's like, you're not going to keep me. I'm getting out. I can't see a Klingon just ending it.
What was it? Star Trek 3, John Larroquette as a Klingon?
Oh, that was so cool.
You said you would kill me. Remember that? I lied. So I think they would have done some sort of ritual suicide. Ritual suicide is in Klingon society because there was an episode where some older Klingon wanted to kill himself.
Yeah, but you call it ritual. I don't think being taken captive is part of that. If anything, I would think they would see it as being dishonorable.
To kill yourself?
After being taken captive.
I disagree. I
don't know.
But anyway, when I first met Martok, I thought he was kind of a wimp. But then, quickly into that episode, when I saw how he treated Worf and how he honored Worf, and he realized that Martok had to step up, and he did step up. Ever since then, Martok is a dope ass Klingon. And you know who really proved to be a
Alexander?
No. Well, yeah, I mean, you're right, but that's not who I was thinking about. Gowron.
You know, I don't know if I would call Gowron a pussy. I think he got a little power crazy. But I remember when he first got introduced in TNG, he was there to get his. He was like, look, I'm going to be the Chancellor. What's up?
But I'm saying, I didn't like the way he treated Martok. He gives Martok all these honors and this and that. You fought well, my ambassador, or whatever. I don't know. I can't remember. Captain. General. Yeah, General Martok. Damn, I'm sorry. And then he takes away his position because he was concerned that Martok was gonna.
That's right.
Was gonna outshine him.
Outshine him. Can't have that. Yeah, that was a punk move. Yeah.
Maybe that's a better word, punk. Okay.
Yeah, it was a punk move.
Should I delete Is that a bad word? Anyway. So Martok, great character. Lots of depth. Nice arc. And so I gotta say, this does have some of the richest characters in Star Trek series history. So Big Sexy, we've logged in, Captain's Log. You know, I've hated that term. It sounds kind of bathroomish.
Oh, wow.
The Captain's Log.
Oh.
How long was your
really
log, Captain? How long was your log? A half hour? That's a long log.
Wow.
You might want to pinch it next time, Cap. Anyway.
Okay.
I'm not going to edit any of that out. Anyway, we have logged in and looked. There we go. We've come in around a little over an hour on this episode. And I think we're going to have to break it up into a two-parter. I think we're going to do a two-parter. What do you think?
I'm okay with that. Yeah, I'm okay with that because that way you get more bang for your buck.
More bang for your buck. Okay. All right. So Big Sexy, by default, you are my number one because no one else is on the ship. Otherwise, I'd have you in engineering. But you're like Riker refusing to have his captain go on an away mission. I have to follow your orders. Or no, you're like Savick, who's always quoting regulation. I have to follow your orders. Okay. So we're gonna split this up, and what I'll do is I'll probably have the second part ready for you guys by next week. What do you say? Does that sound good?
Sounds timely and accurate. Yes.
You know what? I don't. Is it because Craig's not here that you're actually following you're following my lead, that you're actually you're following your captain?
I'm a team player above all else.
Okay.
And I'm getting laughed at. See? That's that progressive spirit coming out, you see?
And there you have it. So please stay tuned. Check us out. Come back next week. I'll have the next part of this posted up for you, and we will pick it up then. Until then, peace. Red Shirts is not endorsed by Paramount Pictures, Viacom, or CBS. It is intended for entertainment and informational purposes only. Star Trek, the Star Trek logo, and all names, pictures, and audio of Star Trek characters are registered trademarks and/or copyrights of their respective trademark and/or copyright holders.